So, XDefiant is back with a new closed beta test that you can sign up to try and get a key for. I played XDefiant a few years back and it just wasn't good. It was early, but I was also trying to judge the game based on what I thought it was going to be in the future, and I just wasn't a fan. Now with this new closed beta test, they've been having a flurry of server issues, with the servers actually coming down yesterday for a big maintenance patch, but I was able to play for a couple of hours, and truth be told, it still just isn't up to par. Now, obviously, this is a closed beta, so any issues that I point out in this video hopefully will be or should be fixed before launch. And before we get the comments saying, dude, it's a closed beta. Yeah, well, here's my feedback on the game, because that's the whole point of a beta. There are a lot of features that people online are hyping up. The fact that this game will have a mini-map with red dots, 14 maps at launch, no skill-based matchmaking, solid UI design, all of these things are true, and I think they would definitely appease a group of players who are feeling let down from recent Call of Duty changes, and this might be an alternative for them. With that said, truth is, XDefiant already feels dated before it even fully launches. From the visuals to the stiff player controller to a group of game modes that do nothing to push not only the genre forward, but this game itself. Like, you have domination, zone control, and they're both just so uninspired, and we've seen them, it's the same modes that we've been playing for 20 years. They also have a mode called Escort, which it sounds like it's going to be something similar to Overwatch, but I couldn't even queue into it without crashing. Closed beta issues, I'm not too worried about the crashing, but I just can't give you guys my opinion on that mode itself. Domination is exactly what every other game has. There's 3 points, you sit on a point until a bar fills up and then you move to the next one. Zone control is almost like a rush style mode. It starts you off with a point A, point B, and then you just got to capture them in order. So A, B, C, D, and you just move on like that. Again, it's a mode we've seen for 20 plus years at this point. It's not doing anything different. From a AAA development powerhouse like Ubisoft, the entire game screams mediocre. The player controller has you running and sliding around, and it all just feels so clunky to me, especially when you're trying to vault over certain obstacles. You get stuck a lot of the time, or at the very least, you like hiccup and pause, and then you kind of appear on the other side. You can vault over things that are like above head level and like kind of like vault yourself up, but when you're jumping over like, you know, potted plants or a box that's just on the ground, it sometimes gets you stuck up. It's very weird. Now, I don't know if this is related to the myriad of server issues they've been having, but it just feels super clunky, so that's how I feel. And it's got me scratching my head like, what happened? 14 maps at launch, no skill-based matchmaking is such a positive thing to see. Plus, it has a pretty decent UI design, especially when it comes to weapon customization and loadouts. You know exactly what you're looking at. It's not so convoluted. It's pretty straightforward. There are some good things to pull from this game, but the gameplay loop itself is just not fun, in my opinion. Players booting around using different abilities like shields and invisibility cloaks and drones. It's funny because when I think of XDefiant and while I was playing it, I was thinking of Shatterline, which in my opinion is a better Call of Duty alternative than XDefiant. It has the same abilities, it has better hit reg, it has better map design, it has better classes and designs, and it has a better player controller. It is doing a lot of things better than XDefiant is. And then I was also thinking about Iron Sight, which is another Call of Duty alternative, and I actually think it's a better alternative than XDefiant. And it begs the question, why these studios with billions of dollars can't do anything better than indie studios that are working with much smaller budgets, teams, and resources. And in the case of a game like Shatterline, those developers are working on it within an active war zone, and they're still putting out, in my opinion, a better product than Ubisoft. How does XDefiant come out feeling this dated already? I don't want to talk about server issues and lag and desync because I'm hoping that that stuff's going to be fixed at launch. And although this video is a very early first impressions of the current state of the game, I'm trying to look at what the game is and what it's going to be if everything worked perfectly, you know, servers, matchmaking queues, and all of that stuff. The core game underneath it all just kind of seems half-baked to me, yet again, from Ubisoft. You can level up weapons, you can unlock new attachments and abilities for the weapons, and that's all cool. But while I'm running around in these environments, it just doesn't feel fun to play. It doesn't feel satisfying to get kills, at least in my opinion. It is an arcade shooter at the end of the day, but it still doesn't do anything better than any other game. And I'm trying to figure out what the hook is to jump into XDefiant. Is it the fact that there's no skill-based matchmaking? That's a pretty good hook. 14 maps at launch. Okay, I can play a mediocre game on 14 maps. Like, what's the hook? What's the thing that brings people in? I actually get the feeling that a lot of content creators that are hyping up XDefiant right now are doing so because they're tired of being burned by Modern Warfare 2's constant fuck-ups and are desperate for an alternative, and I can understand that. I actually think XDefiant coming out now and being as like communication oriented on social media and listening to player feedback, I actually think they could find a pretty sizable player base of Call of Duty gamers who are tired of the rinse and repeat Activision bullshit and might look over the fence at something like this. But in my opinion, that still doesn't make a AAA shooter from one of the largest companies in the world a good game to play. As always, I want to know your guys' thoughts on XDefiant. Are you playing in the closed beta? What do you think? At the end of the day, I don't think this game is for me. I think it's appealing to a demographic of just different kind of gamers. I love me my Call of Duties. I love me games like Shatterline and Iron Sight, and I love faster paced games like this, but XDefiant is bringing nothing to the table that makes me say, hey, we need to be here. But as always, I want to know your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like on it and subscribe for everything FPS related. My name is Big Fry, and I'll see you on the next one.